Traveling with insulin-dependent diabetes can be challenging. And it doesn't really matter if this is your first trip or you've been living with diabetes for a while. But it can be done, and it can be done in a way where you can still have fun, explore new places, and none the least, try all that new, exciting food while still having great blood sugars. My name is Christelle, and I've been living with type 1 diabetes since 1997. And in this video, I will let you in on, let's call them my secret weapons for keeping my blood sugars in range while traveling. So come with me as I travel to Spain, and I'll let you in on my secrets. My intentions can be the best, but if I do not bring all the stuff that I need with me to manage my blood sugars, I won't really get that far. And this is all the stuff I'm bringing with me. Again, it's 2 weeks, actually 16 days, but let's just go over it. So this is just my regular stuff. There's already insulin in the pen. I have some test strips, some inhaled insulin, and this is all the extra stuff. I'm bringing a lot of insulin. This is more than I need, but bringing 2 packs of the inhaled insulin Afresa, 2 long-acting, 2 rapid-acting. So I use both. Again, this is probably double up at least of what I need, but I'd rather bring too much. What if I drop one? So this is Frio. Frio is to keep my insulin at the right temperature. I am going to a place that's probably going to be hot. It's very nifty. I have needles. I have more needles in here. I can show you what's in here in a second. This also has extra test strips, needle cutter. So that's like a mobile sharps container, I'd say, but I'll show you that. Bringing 3 extra of my Dexcom G7, my continuous glucose monitor. I only need 2, but if one fails, I have an extra. Plenty of glucose tabs. This is glucose tabs as well. I always bring as many as I can pretty much because I don't want to be in a situation where I don't have any rapid acting glucose. And then some fruit bars. These are just 12-15 grams of carbs if needed. But this is everything I bring to help me manage my blood sugars. Let's just have a look in the Insulin Queen. In here, I have another bag of needles. These are a little different than those. I have a meter. This is a massive meter. I don't bring that along with me when I go out. I just have that in my hotel room. Extra tester for that. Extra tester for my other meter. Spare inhaler for the inhaled insulin. A little bit more fruit strips I have here. This is a glue remover, so this helps me take off the CGM. I also should have, let's see. Oh, I put that down here. I have some alcohol swabs. This is for prepping the skin before inserting the CGM. I have syringes just in case my insulin pen malfunctions. I can draw out a little bit of insulin. So yeah. Oh, I forgot to show you. This is the portable sharps container. So basically just pop the needle in here, clip it off, and it contains needles. And that, again, is everything I bring to help me manage my blood sugars for a 2-week trip. So actually it's 16 days. Oh, and I forgot to show you this. So these 2 are letters from my endocrinologist. These are letters stating, hey, Christelle lives with diabetes. She should be able to bring all this stuff with her because she needs this to survive. I always bring these. I've never been asked to show them, but you know what? Rather be safe than sorry. And should they ask in security, then at least I have the letters. My insulin strategy and exactly how much insulin I need really depends on the type of trip that I'm taking. So for example, if I'm going hiking for 5 days, then I'll need a different amount of insulin than if I'm going on a beach vacation and just, hanging around by the pool for a week. So again, it's very situational. However, the food and how I dose for that is always the main challenge. So let me show you my 2 tips on how to deal with that. This vacation, we went to Spain. We were there for just over 2 weeks. I've been to Spain before, but that was only for a few days where we visited Barcelona. That was great. But that also means that I'm not super familiar with the food and figuring out, how much insulin did I need and what should the insulin timing be was a little bit challenging. But as with anything, it can be done. Let me show you how I went about it. My trick to figuring out the carb count is Google. I know that sounds super simple, and it is. That's the whole point here. So it only takes a few minutes maximum to do a quick search before your meal arrives, or maybe even when your meal arrives. Sure, I can take a stab in the dark, but you know what? I would rather base my carb count off of data. And that's why I use the search engine. You don't have to use Google, you can use whatever you prefer. But if you just type in, let's just say gazpacho nutrient information, the carb count will come up. It might not be the exact carb count that's in the actual dish I'm eating, because I'm in a restaurant that might use a slightly different recipe, but it's a really good starting point. And it's so much better than me just pulling some random carb count out of the air. I also try to learn from experience. This was a longer trip, so I did eat the same dish more than once. And that gave me some information on how my body was reacting to those dishes, and thereby how much insulin I needed. I would recommend taking notes as well. But this is vacation time, right? And I must admit that even I'm not that structured when I travel. So that was carb counting. My second tip on how to keep your blood sugars in range while traveling is to focus on your insulin timing. So you might have noticed that before I mentioned that you could Google your carb count either right before the meal came or when it arrives at the table. So you might be wondering, Christelle, how the heck do you keep your blood sugars in range and keep them from shooting up if you don't take your insulin until the meal arrives? Well, there's a reason for that. I can do that. I can take my insulin when the meal arrives and not see it shoot up because I have a secret weapon, which is a fresa. This is inhaled insulin. So I have these two strengths. So this is a 4-unit cartridge and this is an 8-unit cartridge. They're not like injected insulin, so it's not actually like 8 units of, for example, Humalog. But show you, this one is open. There's these little blister packs in here. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this insulin. I have videos about that if you want to see it. But gist of it is it's inhaled with this little one. And because it hits the bloodstream in a minute and it starts lowering blood sugars in as little as 12 minutes, that means that you can actually take that right at the beginning of your meal and not see those insane blood sugar spikes that we sometimes see when we eat. What that means for me is that while traveling, well, it doesn't just have to be for traveling, but for traveling it's really helpful. I can wait until the food arrives at my table. I can assess my carbs. I can Google what needs to be Googled. I can inhale my fresa, and then I can enjoy my meal. But I also know that not everyone has access to a fresa. Maybe it's not approved in your country, or maybe insurance won't cover it. My insurance didn't cover it for a while, so I had to just manage with regular injected insulin. So let's talk about some strategies on how to do that successfully. My injected rapid-acting insulin, also called mealtime insulin, is Humalog, and I have that in this pretty pink pen. It's pretty much the same as Novolog, just a different manufacturer. And yours might not come in a pen like this. You might get it in a pre-filled pen or maybe even a vial. But regardless of how it's packaged, it still works the same way. The thing with this stuff, with the injected rapid-acting insulin, is that once injected, it doesn't start to work in the body until 15 minutes after injected. That's why we're often told to do a pre-bolus, which simply means take your insulin 15 minutes before your meal. So this stuff, again, 15 minutes in, it doesn't peak, so it's not as most effective until an hour and a half after injected, and it lasts in the body up to 3 to 5 hours. Given injected rapid-acting insulin works the way it does, my strategy is once I get to the restaurant and look over the menu, I give myself a fixed dose, and that dose is usually around 2 units. That way I can get some insulin rolling, and then I can always add more insulin when I actually get the meal and I do a more accurate carb counting. 2 units feels safe for me. It might not be for you. I'm not telling you to take 2 units, just telling you what I do. So 2 units seems safe for me because most of the time, if not all the time when I eat out in restaurants, I need more than 2 units to cover the meal. So I take my 2 units, get that insulin rolling, and then once the meal arrives, I can do a more informed assessment of how many carbs are in the meal and thereby how much insulin I need. I can see the food, I can assess do I even want to eat the food, and then I can take the rest of my insulin. So let's say that I assess, actually I needed 5 units for this meal. Well, I already took the 2 up front, I'll just add the 3 and I'll enjoy my meal. Thank you for coming with me to Spain and checking out my secret weapons for international travel and eating with diabetes. If you like this video, please give it a like and leave me a comment below. And remember to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me. Turn on notifications, that is that little bell. That way you'll be informed whenever I post new content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.